Prosperity is a herbal remedy that has been naturally designed to nourish the prostate gland. Prosperity uses a combination of leaves, roots, and barks to create a tincture designed to nourish your prostate gland. It also will assist in prostate-related issues such as erectile dysfunction, swollen prostates, and problems related to the passage of urine. Call or WhatsApp 728-8289, 728-8289 and get your bottle today. Prosperity. Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of ARCHAEOASTRONOMY from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its makeup has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as Ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com for more information.
Because God Almighty knew exactly what he was doing when he made me black. If black people knew their glorious past, then they would be more inclined to respect themselves. Yes, you heard of Johnny Walker Red and black. Well, he had his adversities, but he's still going strong. Well, I intend with your help and God's grace to continue, because my work has only just begun. And future generations shall have in their hands the guide by which they shall know the sins of the 20th century. I know, and I know you too believe in time, but we shall wait patiently for 200 years if need be to face our enemies through our posterity. When my enemies are satisfied, in life I shall come back, or in death even to serve you as I served before. In life I shall be the same, in death I shall be a terror to the foes of us. Then count on me to be the real Marcus Garvey I would like to be. If I may come in an earthquake or a plague or a pestilence or as God would have of me, then be assured that I shall never desert you and make your enemies triumph over you. Will I God not go to hell 1,000,000 times for you? If I die in Atlanta, my work will only just then begin. For I shall live in the physical or the spiritual to see the day of Africa's glory.
We do definitely give thanks. Let me say salam to blessed love to the international community. Glorify continually the life giver and the keeper of life, Kadamawe Haile Selassie first. We give thanks for Negus and Agas, the very same King of Kings. Even at this moment, as the showers of blessings are coming down in the land, and thunder and lightning rattling in the heavens, and thick clouds of water are around about us, we do celebrate and give thanks for the 136th anniversary of the born day, the earth day of the mighty prophet Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We say the mighty prophet is the greatest of the prophets that have bust and come true, even in this time, to free and liberate I and I, who have come true even in this time to assist in this great emancipation struggle. The greatest prophet to come from the womb of the woman. So we give thanks for Marcus Mosiah Garvey, also represent the Godhead. And this will be the theme tonight, again, as the showers are touching down, you know, on the ground and washing away all that will not be accepted in our presence at the moment, yet still bringing joy and happiness. I definitely give thanks for the presence of Marcus Garvey with us. As he says, look for me in the whirlwind. Look for me in the thunderstorm. Look for me in the earthquake. And we all know that Marcus Mosiah Garvey's presence always triggers such. You hear of some massive and terrible earthquakes on the born day of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Some of the most dreadful hurricanes would have created themselves, or at least made landfall, or at least done their greatest of disasters on the birthday, the earth day of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And as we would have said in the documentary, The Night of the Black Tiger, the divinity of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, we are not glorifying in the demise of anyone at all. We are just highlighting to you the science behind the words of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, as he clearly showed us how to detect him, when to look for him. Every August 17th, you get a different vibes. Sometimes it's subtle, and maybe sometimes it's not as subtle, and then there are times that the news camera maybe didn't reach to the scene, but something's going on in the name of Marcus Garvey. Give thanks. Marcus Selassie, Jah Rastafari. Blessed love again, royal family. Honorable Priest Isaac here with you, and we welcome you into the Tiger's Nest. And this is a program that we will be presenting to you this evening, entitled, Where Did Marcus Garvey Go? And the subtitle is The Spirit of Garvey and Emperor Haile Selassie I. So we do not want to waste no time in getting into the subject area this evening. It will be basically spirit-based, and some of what we would have spoken of before in different documentaries and, of course, lectures and other presentations will be spoken of this evening, but we definitely want to concentrate on a specific angle. And as the presentation grows, you for sure will see the angle that we are coming from. So again, it is the 136th anniversary of the Earth Day, the born day of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Of course, born the 17th of August, 1887. St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica. And of course, that is in the Caribbean. And Marcus Mosiah Garvey, as we know, is the individual who would have shook and really woke up the black man out of his serious coma, out of his super slumber, and brought him to a standard where he understood that Africa was for the Africans. Give thanks. Now, actually, that is not where we want to begin this evening. I want to begin by reading a bit of information here for you. And this is taken from Egypt, journeytoegypt.com. And read, or I should say, just go through, as I myself will be commenting on what I will be reading. So this is an article now from this website, as I said. Anubis, god of embalming and guide and friend of the dead. And I must say, the dead is something that will be uttered much in this discussion. Now, ones may be afraid of the term, but as you heard the rendition of the speech of Marcus Garvey as we came in, I think I heard him clearly say, if I was to die in Atlanta, my work would have only just begun. When I die, wrap me in the mantle of the red, the black, and the green. If death hath power, then count on me to be the real Marcus Garvey that I would like to be. These are the words of Mosiah Garvey himself. When Marcus Garvey dies, Marcus Garvey lives. So if an individual thinks he wants to rewrite the narrative, it is up to him. But give thanks for the words that have already been spoken, because we are not superstitious here, but we have a clear understanding of the science. And the intelligent ones listening to me may wonder, why is it that the priest has to say that? Well, I must say in all humility, there are many even in the Rastafari faith that are very superstitious, extremely. Even to speak of the dead, they are afraid. And so I thought it was just good that we preface the conversation even with that. Now, remember, as one of these articles said, and we will come across it, the concept of the god of the dead in the ancient African sense is very different than the god of the dead, the evil god in the European sense. In fact, the ancient African gods are not gods of the dead, and believe it or not, they're not even gods. You see, there's so many things to unravel here. So that's why sometimes you have to handle this with children's gloves or even surgical gloves sometimes, how deep the situation is and how far we have gone psychologically in the understanding of what we're dealing with. Yes, let's be clear. Yes, I comprehend that the Kemetic Netaru are not quote unquote gods, are not even really angels and none of that, but principles. But you must understand again on another level that these principles do manifest in us, whether it's the principle of Anpu, whether it's the principle of Asar, whether it's the principle of Heru, which are the main principles we will be reasoning about for a few moments. But yet still, we have shown historically in the mystics, prophetically, that these specific principles of Anpu and Asar, etc., would have found themselves in their full 100% expressions in specific human beings. Anpu being Marcus Mosiah Garvey, something that we would have brought to the table many times. I would, of course, mention the Night of the Black Tiger once again. So let us continue now with a bit of comprehension as we get into this study for this evening. Now, Anubis, again, god of embalming and guide and friend of the dead. And it says here, Anubis, Inpu, or Yinpu, Anpu, was an ancient Egyptian, of course, Kemetic, an ancient Egyptian god of the underworld who guided and protected the spirits of the dead. He was known as the Lord of the hallowed land, the necropolis, and Khenti Amentiu, or I would prefer to say, as I will continue to say, Khenti Amentiu. Okay, very good. This is just the author's choice of version of the name, but I would more for my own reasons use Khenti Amentiu, but he has here Khenti Amentiu. Okay, for most of the Westerners, the land of the dead was thought to be to the west, where the Egyptians buried their dead. Khenti Amentiu was the name of a previous Canine deity who was superseded by Anubis. The worship of Anubis was an ancient one. It was probably even older than the worship of Osiris, which is Asar. In the pyramid texts of Unas, his role was already very clear. He was associated with the Eye of Horus or Heru, and he was already taught to be the guide of the dead in the afterlife, showing them the way to Asar. In the text, it was written that Unas standeth with the spirits. Get the onward, Anubis, into Amentiu, onwards unto Osiris. Let me read that again. And Unas standeth with the spirits. Get the onwards, Anubis, into Amentiu, onwards to Asar or Osiris. He was generally, depicted as a black jackal-headed man, or as a black jackal in general. The Egyptians would have noticed the jackals prowling around the graveyards. Interesting point. And so the link between the animal and the dead was formed in their minds, so says the author. It has been noticed by Flinders Petrie, that's one of the early archaeologists from Europe who came and began raiding these tombs and taking out a lot of the artifacts, which have now ended up in museums. So it has been noticed by Flinders Petrie that the best guides to Egyptian tombs are the jackal trails. Interesting again. Anubis was painted black in further link, to further link him with the deceased. A body that has been embalmed became a pitch black color. Black was also the color of fertility, and thus linked the death and rebirth in the afterlife, and even in this life itself, being on this plane and dimension. I added that. Anubis was also seen as the deity of embalming, as well as the god of the dead. To the Egyptians, Anubis was the protector of embalming and guardian of both the mummy and the necropolis. All right, I'm going to skip this one here where it says Anubis was often identified by the word Sab or a jackal. Next paragraph. When the Asar or Osiris worship came to power, Osiris took over many of Anubis's job as caretaker and protector of the dead. All of that is quite important. As this happened, Anubis became he who is before the divine booth. That's the title. He became he who is before the divine booth. The god of embalming, who presided over the funerary rituals. That's the same Anubis, Anpu. The funerary stem priests would wear the mask of the jackal god during the mummification process, symbolically becoming the god for the ritual. Well, that is what the author is saying would have taken place historically. All right, so I wouldn't go into the stages of mummification. They also speak somewhat of the opening of the mouth ceremony. I would not read all of that. Now, what we would have just read
here, of course, you must understand that a lot of these articles that you are reading, the author is also giving their ideas and their outlook and the terms that they would use and who is worshiping who and all of that. That's just how they see it. They're obviously looking at it from maybe a European standpoint. That is why the same Marcus Garvey would show us that we have to see God from the African point of view. Use your Ethiopian spectacles to vision God. So it's as if you're just looking at the whole story and you put on the spectacle of Ethiopia and turn everything Ethiopian. And you say, okay, all right, I see now. Meaning that you have to understand how the Ethiopians or the ancient Africans see this. All right, they're talking about the God of the dead and following people into the afterworld and rebirth. But how do the Africans really see that? That may be totally different than the outlook of the Europeans' linear point of view. And that is very so. And this has been seen in language and in story and in art form and in different cultures and even morality. So, Khenti Amentiu is considered an extremely old deity or Natal. We would have done a program which would have linked Khenti Amentiu to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. In fact, I am going to switch over to that program now, and I am going to allow myself to give you a good understanding of exactly who Khenti Amentiu is. Please welcome myself.
Quickly as well. This says Khenti Amentiu, and many other spelling, is the divine name or title form of the ancient Egyptian mythology.
Listen.
It means foremost of the Westerners.
Hear that?
Chief of the Westerners, where the Westerners referred to the dead.
Listen.
Khenti Amentiu was the name of a jackal-headed deity at Abydos in Upper Egypt, who stood guard over the city of the dead. This god attested early at Abydos, perhaps even earlier than the unification of Egypt at the start of the Old Kingdom period. Not perhaps, it is. The Abydos area is also associated with Asar or Osiris and with Wept Wawet. Hear that? With Wept Wawet.
Very important.
Who was a wolf or jackal-headed god of nearby Swawat, Asut, and Lycopolis, which means city of the wolf. Yeah. As early as the Old Kingdom, Khenti Amentiu is associated with Asar or Osiris, and I want to go deep into that. At times, Khenti Amentiu was associated with Minipu or Anubis, who is also jackal-headed and is associated with Wepwawet in various ways. All right, good. Let's continue here. Don't lose me, family. Khenti Amentiu and many other spirits in the ancient Egyptian, also bam, bam, bam. Good. Now, I think we would have read some of this. Khenti Amentiu was depicted as a jackal-headed deity at Abydos in Upper Egypt, who stood guard over the city of the dead. Khenti Amentiu is attested early at Abydos, perhaps even earlier than the unification at the start of the dynastic period. But this one gives the date of the dynastic period, 3100 BC to 2686 BC. The name appears on the necropolis cylinder seal of the first dynasty of Den. All right, and you see it here, Den, also known as Orden. Again, that is ancient Kemetic Horus kings as well, and Kwa, naming each of their predecessors with the title Horus Khenti Amentiu. Listen to this.
Okay.
Starting with Horus Khenti Amentiu Nama. Hold on there. I wonder if you pick up what that means.
I get it.
So it is saying now that from the time of the first dynastic period, so the first dynastic king would be Nama, also known as Menes.
Yes, right.
And the name given to Nama or Menes would have been Horus or Heru, Khenti Amentiu, Nama.
Okay, I get that.
I want you to follow that good family.
Yes, Professor.
So the king of Egypt would have been given the name of Heru first, and then the name of Khenti Amentiu, and then he as the king, his name would be the last name. Heru, Khenti Amentiu, Nama. So let's say Dizoja. So it's Heru, Khenti Amentiu, Dizoja. Khufu, Heru, Khenti Amentiu, Khufu. Pepe II. Heru, Khenti Amentiu, Pepe II. Three people name. Heru, Khenti Amentiu, and then the king's name. Holy Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari.
And that's a very important point. Let's give thanks to my Lord for that. That's a very important point, you know, as we're speaking of the spirit there of Khenti Amentiu. Now let us just keep to the scholarship here. So again, the Khenti Amentiu is basically a netter that looks like Anubis. You also have Wep-Wawet. This is another deity or neter that looks similar to Anubis, but Wep-Wawet would have a gray facial coloration instead of the black of Anpu and Khenti Amentiu. Now, they appear to be the same. When you see Khenti Amentiu, sometimes you may refer to it as Anubis for sure. There are many statues and glyphs of Khenti Amentiu that ones would just call Anubis or Anpu, because most people are more familiar with Anubis or Anpu, but they're considered to be different beings, just like Heru and Ra. You could see that Heru and Ra are the same, except for when you see the falcon with the sun on its head, that's really Ra. And the falcon with otherwise is really the god Horus or the god Heru. So this is interesting within the science, and I thought that it was important for you to comprehend that, because Asa is also considered to be Khenti Amentiu. This is very important. Asa or Osiris is also considered to be Khenti Amentiu. Osiris or Asa is not necessarily considered to be Anpu or Anubis, but it is said, as we read before, that after the introduction of Osiris as the chief god, he took the place of Anubis. And this is very serious. This is very deep, astrologically as well. And this is something we would have covered before, as brother Charles Finch speaks of the movement of the jackal out of the celestial power point of the heavens, which is the northern celestial pole of the heavens. This is where the current pole star Polaris is. And of course, brother Charles Finch, listen to me, good family, with all the love in the world. Brother Charles Finch speaks about the constellation Kepheus. We will be visiting the heavens a little more in this presentation, so we may highlight this with the heavens. But just to make a quick point, the constellation of Kepheus, which will usher in the year or the age of the Ethiopian cosmic king. This is according to our esteemed scholar now, Charles Finch. He says again, and he's correct, that the constellation of Kepheus in the heavens, in the northern heavens specifically, the circumpolar region of the northern heavens. All of these constellations are circumpolar constellations, and they govern the operation of the celestial North Pole, where you'd find the North Star, which would change from time to time, and the northern constellation of the celestial pole, which will change from time to time. So now the Little Dipper, which houses the star Polaris, which he considers, and correctly as well, ones would consider that the jackal, because remember, the house of Anubis is the northern celestial pole. That is ancient science. That's the house of Anpu. So it's the house of the jackal. And Kepheus now, Kepheus, which represents the Ethiopian king. Remember, Kepheus is an Ethiopian king, you know, Khenti. He will be taking the place, this modern day Kepheus now, will be taking the place of the jackal as it moves out of the heavenly scope. Now remember, this take a while to do, you know, this don't happen in a year or a month or so. This takes several generations, you know, hundreds of years, maybe to even touch 1,000 before Polaris can be totally out of that zone. And then the key star of Kepheus comes in and takes over the northern polar position. I hope you comprehend that. So that will take some time, but the point is the process has begun from the crowning of Negusa Nagas Emperor Haile Selassie I on the 30th of November, the 2nd of November, 1930, you know, and 72 nations came and fulfilled all of them prophecies of Asa, and biblically, and even science, and even the movement of the same heavens, the movement of the astronomical clock, with the sun moving 1 degree every 72 years. It's not just the sun alone, you know. The whole heavens have to be in tune for that sun moving 1 degree every 72 years. So the point is now that Kepheus represents Haile Selassie, the cosmic Ethiopian king. Who are we talking about? Kepheus, Haile Selassie. And because according to Brother Charles Finch, there were 3 great events that really ushered in this age, symbolic of this age. One was the coronation of Haile Selassie. Give thanks, my good brother, for such acknowledgement there. And the other, one of the other events was the Million Man March that was held by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And then the third event was the inauguration of Barack Obama. I don't want to take too much time on that, but my opinion is that the coronation of Haile Selassie I wasn't one of the 3 events that ushered in that. That was the event. You know, no disrespect to the other 2. And of course, I have admirable respect for not only the Minister Louis Farrakhan, but even the Million Man March, for sure. I mean, Barack Obama, he's my brother. That president thing is another story all by itself. But the coronation of Haile Selassie, we don't have time to talk about that. The coronation of Haile Selassie I, to me, is the event that began that age where you ushered in now. You're ushering in the polar region, the Kepheus constellation, ushering in the age of the cosmic Ethiopian king, ushering in the movement of what? The jackal, the movement of the jackal in the northern pole, and Kepheus coming in to take over as the ruler of the celestial power, North Pole. So I'm saying all of that to say, in the same way, you can see in the narrative about the 4th dynastic period also, you see in the narrative that Anpu now, although Anpu remained, you know, Anubis remained, you see there was a moment where Anubis was, if you want to use Western terms, the chief god, definitely the chief Neter. That was Anpu or Anubis. And of course, the introduction of Asar, he would have replaced according to a lot of the writings. Anubis in many ways, remember, Anubis or Anpu, you know, was the one in the whole story fashion which brought the god Osiris back to life. when Osiris was chopped up into 14 or 16 pieces, depending on the narrative, by his brother Seth, after the 72 put him in the coffin, yeah, the divine booth, and then they threw him in the Nile, and of course the fish came and swallowed up the phallic and all of these different things. Anpu was the one that resurrected him. Isis brought him to Anpu. Aset brought him to Anubis. Same thing I said there a moment ago. And he resurrected the Asa. And Asa, of course, became the constellation of Sahu. So you could see from them times, you could say Asa, the resurrected Asa, would have taken over the post that Anpu would have had. This is serious, you know. This resurrected Asa, the Osiris figure. This is not just me putting it like this. That's how the narrative puts it. What we would have read thus far would have highlighted that Osiris would have literally taken over from Anpu or Anubis. And I see that the heavens also shows us that. Brother Charles Finch would have highlighted that very skillfully for us. That the Ethiopian king, who is Asa, the Ethiopian king, who is Osiris, will come and replace the jackal. This is in the heavens, who is Anpu, the jackal, who is Anubis, the said Khenti Amentiu, who is considered to be Osiris. Khenti Amentiu is still considered to be Anubis, but Khenti Amentiu is definitely seen with a jackal head. That's why in glyphs like these, many times you see two Anpu or two Anubis. Sometimes you see a string of Anubis or Anubises or Anpus, 4 of them behind one another. You say 4 Anubis, are you sure? One could be Anubis because Anubis is seen with wet many times together. And many times you consider that it's 2 Anubis when it's Anubis with Khenti Amentiu. That's how deep the science is. Very good. So again, just to go through quickly an understanding of Anpu, Anubis, and I will show you more deeply why we put that link with Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Now, again, this is contemporary reading. This is actually from Google Arts and Culture. But just to give you a basic idea, as you could see, we would have gone to the, I would say the deeper realms in conversation, but let's just read this just for a bit of understanding. Now, this says here, the job of Anubis, the Egyptian god of the dead, was a jackal-headed deity that guided souls and dead kings to the afterlife. There they were judged by Osiris or Asa through the weighing of the heart. Anubis would also embalm the dead and protect them. So basically, again, you of course know the weighing of the heart, Anpu here, Anubis guiding the individual, which would be Ani at this point. And of course, the other figure, which is supposedly Anubis, weighing the heart. And of course, you know, the whole vibration. You have well, this is not showing you everything, but as we scroll down, I think we'll get the whole picture itself, where you have Tahuti here keeping the record and Heru here bringing the same participant before Osiris, but you cannot really see Osiris. Now it says significance. Anubis was one of the most important gods in ancient Egyptian history. People viewed him with respect as a god of the underworld. He was depicted as a jackal-headed god because jackals were frequently seen roaming around the tombs in ancient Egypt. And it's interesting, as Pitri would have said, according to the article we were reading before, that you could easily find these Kemetic tombs by following the jackal trails. Anubis was said to have invented mummification, the mummification process. In world mythology, gods of death are often associated with evil. Hear this. In world mythology, gods of death are often associated with evil. However, this wasn't the case for Anpu or Anubis. The Egyptian Kemetic people viewed him as a good protective deity. And you see him performing the opening of the mouth ceremony. This also is symbolic of the Big Dipper. The instrument used here, some call it a zed. It is the Big Dipper from ancient astronomy, which show you that this symbol is the same as the Big Dipper and aligns itself with the Olmec head. We would have done a whole video on that on the YouTube channel. But anyway, so you see him performing the opening of the mouth ceremony on the deceased, who he would have mummified. And in symbolism again, he will bring that same deceased back to life. All right, symbolism. Anpu was portrayed with the color black, symbolizing regeneration and the Nile River's fertile soil. He was one of the most commonly represented deities in Egyptian art and appeared as early as the first dynasty in royal tombs. Now, keep in mind that at the same time, Anpu or Khenti Amentiu, Wawet, even this looks very close to the depiction of Wawet. So at the same time, you may say, yes, you see a lot of Anubis depictions, but sometimes it's Khenti Amentiu. Even figures like these specifically would be considered more Khenti Amentiu than Anpu. What this says here, craftsmen frequently included Anubis on the coffins of royalty and the elite. Most commonly, he appeared in art with a body of a man and the head of a jackal with pointed ears. He was also depicted in full canine form in all black. And then you also would have him in ruling position, you know, seen with specific artifacts, the crook and the frail, to prove that he was in authority at the moment. Anubis is often depicted holding a crook and frail, symbolizing authority. He was seen as the primary god associated with death during the Old Kingdom until the 4th dynasty. Anubis then replaced him. This should be Osiris. That's a typo for them. Then replaced him as the main god of death and resurrection. So again, you have that scene of Osiris replacing Anubis as a theme. This is why we showed, you know, what is taking place in the heavens. This is why the ancient Kemetic writings and ancient writings in general, Cushan, Tarseti, and wherever we're getting it from, so valuable, because these are the ancient archaeoastronomers, archaeologists, scientists. These were the ancient geologists that mapped the earth. You have got to be a geologist to build the pyramid. These are the ones that took the story from the heavens, astrotheologists, and put it in hieroglyphic form for us to understand. Then you have another set of people who came and took it off of the walls and put it on scrolls. And then another set of people came and stole it off of the scrolls and put it in some books and brought it back to us and said, read this. That is why sometimes we can find, you know, semblance of the truth in some of the junk that they give us. But you can obviously see again that what the heavens is saying, if you understand it, about the Osiris taking over from the jackal, the Kepheus taking over from the Little Dipper, in astronomical terms. This is astrotheology here. This is seen now portrayed in the ancient Kemetic philosophy of the jackal being replaced, slowly but surely too, by the Asar. In fact, it was the same jackal that resurrected the Asar. All right, Very, very good family. So we have a good understanding not only of Anpu or Anubis, but his link to Khenti Amentiu and how he's associated with the resurrection of Asa or Osiris. Now, of course, Osiris, Rastafari, again, is Haile Selassie. And we're looking at this in his true sense. Marcus Mosiah Garvey is a spirit man. Marcus Mosiah Garvey clearly showed us how to detect him, that we got to find him in the whirlwind. We're going to find him in the thunderstorm. We're going to find him in brimstone and all of these things. So just look for him all around us. Now, you see, as we have what is known as the hurricane season, hurricane, Huracan, is the ancient Olmec deity. Now, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, as we would have highlighted, and I think now is a good time for me to highlight the Night of the Black Tiger. Now, the Night of the Black Tiger family is a full-length documentary that we would have produced, our third full-length documentary that we would have produced, that literally links not only the Anpu philosophy, but the Olmec civilization and the understanding of the Olmec with that of Marcus Mosiah Garvey as well. Of course, since the discovery of the Olmec head structures in Central America, you know, it would have been, many ones would have considered this a new age mystery for us to figure out. These people are the Shai people. Some people say they're a mixture of Black people and Chinese people. Some people say they are the people that came from the continent of Mu. Some people say they are directly related to the Buddha people, the Nigger people, but it's obvious that they are Black people. For those who do not know, we're talking about granite, volcanic rock. We're talking about standing higher than the size of an average man. You know, the head structure with the Uganda Idi Amin look, the thick nose and the thick lips, and the Marcus Garvey look. In fact, it's obvious that Marcus Mosiah Garvey resembles the Olmec. Now, look-alike is one thing, and that's very good. But this is more than look-alike. You see, according to the science, the Olmec is the forerunner. The Olmec comes before the Messiah, according to how they interpret the Mayan philosophy. The Olmec will come and bring in the bearded white man. That's how they call him, but that is only symbolic, but that is how it's interpreted in many books. But the Olmec man, or the Shai man, also known as Shai Te Cutley, the Olmec also comes to us as Quetzalcoatl, yes, the feathered snake. The Olmec is the same Kulkukan, and the Olmec is Huracan, which is the god of the wind. Now remember, you know, when Marcus Mosiah Garvey went to Panama, you know, to work on the banana plantations, and this is Olmec country, eh? That's Olmec country. This is the same area that they started to find these head structures, where Marcus Garvey went to work as a timekeeper. You know what's interesting? The reason why they're called the Olmec people. Oli means rubber. And that is why you see the Olmec people associated with the rubber football game or the ball game in general, the rubber game. And you see them playing it with their hips and putting it through the sideway hoop, basketball hoop that's turned on its side. But that's symbolic of the alignment with the sun and the earth and the Milky Way galaxy, the center of it, which is a supermassive black hole. That's what the game is all about, you know. So that's why you hear Brother Vaughn in one song speak of Olmec head structure, still a play football. So the Olmec now, the Shai people, and Shai is XI really, That's why many people link them to China again, the exile people, again, from the sinking of Mu. And this is very deep when it goes into genealogy and these different things, you know. So these people here, or the philosophy of the Olmec, is that he is the forerunner of the coming Messiah. Anywhere you see the Olmec, you see the rubber tree. The Olmec is considered the god of war. That is why you see him fitted with his helmet. The Olmec, Shaite Kotle specifically, carries the sun on his back across the sky. You tell the eye, you understand? So that is why it's no coincidence when Marcus Mosiah Garvey purchased a rubber land in Liberia. That's the same rubber plantation, I should say, that the government of Liberia took away from Mosiah Garvey and gave to the Firestone Rubber Company. And that is why we highlighted in our documentary, The Night of the Black Tiger, which I am encouraging you to get a copy of, where it shows that during the time of the 1990s going into the early 2000s, you had all these Firestone tires tearing up and ripping up on the highways and vehicles, forerunners. Hear them vehicle name? Forerunners. Hear that? Forerunners and Jeep and all of these vehicles that would use the Firestone tires, these specific brands, were just flipping all over Canada, Japan, the USA for sure, just skidding and tires tearing up, and dozens of people would have died before the Firestone company had to start recalling these tires. And this took place in August as well, Marcus Mosiah Garvey's month. Go and check the documentary. We have everything well sourced for you. Scholarly presentation, The Night of the Black Tiger. It's not a lecture. It's not a webinar. It's a documentary. You and your little children can sit down and get the surround sounds and put your snack on the table and full enjoy it like a movie you're watching. The Night of the Black Tiger. In fact, let me just show you. Let me just go straight to the website so you get a good idea of exactly what we are speaking of. Now, this is the website here. You can find our website by linking the description. The link is in the description below this video. Just go below the video and press the button, and you will go straight to the website where you have Radio Anu. That is the international flavor, the universal spice. If it is good vibration, good information, good inspiration you want, you should be locked in to Radio Anu. Now, when you come and you visit the store region, this is the shop region, shop our books, our ebooks, online lectures, and more. When I scroll down, you see it here, The Night of the Black Tiger. Of course, you have other documentaries. You have a Pedimec. Of course, a Pedimec really is the Lion of Judah hath prevailed. The documentary 7. Of course, you have our ebooks, The Heavens Declare the Glory, The True Biblical Land of Israel. But for now, I am highlighting The Night of the Black Tiger. You know, all you got to do is add it to cart and you know what to do. This is a purchase that you definitely will not regret. You know, when you really see the dynamics of how we link Marcus Mosiah Garvey to Mars, how we link Marcus Mosiah Garvey again to Anpu. Keep in mind, you know, we're talking about the grave and the God of the dead and all of that. Marcus Mosiah Garvey as a child, his father took him and placed him in a grave. His father was a grave digger. And as a little baby, a little child, Marcus Mosiah Garvey was placed in a grave and his father went away and left him there. And Mosiah Garvey showed us that, you know, from that time, he understood that, hey, he have to fend for himself. Now, this is interesting, you know, because again, if we're going to deal with the science of etymology, and again, family, this is a scientific spiritual program here tonight. With a touch of history, we got to give some historical facts, but I want us to home in on the spirit here. Because if you just look at the name Garvey, and you take out the Y. Just take the Y out. Within the letters, you do have the word grave. Now again, even Garvey giving a speech within a 50-second span, the prophet would have mentioned the word death maybe 10 times in a 50-second span. That is why, again, his Anpu, his Anubis, he says, when I die, wrap me in the mantle of the red, the black, and the green. Yes, family, make sure you get your Night of the Black Tiger, eh? The Night of the Black Tiger. Yes. When I die, he says, wrap me in the mantle of the red, the black, and the green, for in the new life I shall rise. And again, you can see him here, wrapping the dead in the mantle to bring them back to life. Now, that's very symbolic, you know, because what Marcus Garvey does is the work of Anpu. He takes the dead and brings them back to life. That is what was done in his presence with us. Remember, in the month of August, follow me good, this being the month of August, we are celebrating, again, also, the forming of the UNIA from the 1st of August, 1914 in Jamaica. But from the 1st of August to the 31st of August, 1920, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, as we all know, had that grand convention, the convention of the Negro, all Negro peoples internationally. And this was taking place in Harlem, New York. Now, we're talking about thousands of delegates coming in within that month period. And of course, day and night of gathering and of course, the Black Man Bill of Rights being proclaimed by Marcus Mosiah Garvey as well. And keep in mind that it was on the 13th day of this month, August, where Marcus Mosiah Garvey literally rose the flag of the red, black, and green and proclaimed the flag to be the flag of the Negro race. Now, again, the red, black, and green specifically, Marcus Mosiah Garvey's colors will be after such a set of colors that would inhabit many of the African flags, those that would have become independent after the time of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So again, that is very, very important. We all know who Garvey is. As we would have mentioned in previous documentaries, previous reasoning, Marcus Mosiah Garvey was the individual that made the FBI hire a black informant. They never did that before. They never hired no Negroes to work for them. I don't know, maybe the person that cleaned the toilet or whatever. I don't even think they did that. But for whatever reason now, Marcus Mosiah Garvey was on the scene. As I said in August, you know, the gathering was heavy. You know, the NAACP never had no gathering like that. The NAACP never made no proclamation like that. When Marcus Mosiah Garvey hit the road, thousands of black people on the street with him and thousands more on the side watching on. Nobody ever made a move like that in the United States of America. So they shook. They said, no, man, what's going on here? Get J. Edgar Hoover for us. And of course, J. Edgar Hoover, who really, as they said, cut his teeth on the mighty prophet as such, meaning that that's where he got his go out. Started his whole propaganda campaign to try to bring down the work of the Black Moses. It's them kind of phrasing, this Black Moses business, and to stop the rise of a Black Messiah. That was the whole idea as it relates to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So, of course, we all know that they brought some trumped up charges. In fact, it's not just one informant, you know. It's not just one person they brought in to try to keep down Marcus Mosiah Garvey, not just Mr. 800. That was his name as a spy. It was 8 of them. 8 Black people were hired by the FBI to spy on and to bring down the UNIA. 80. They never did anything like that before. And now they're gone for 8. That is to show you how dangerous Marcus Garvey is. And what a mighty threat he is in a man. Because Garvey is here, is to them establishments. So yes, again, the red, black, and green was risen on officially on the 13th day of August. And again, the red, black, and green birthday is aligned with the New Year's Day of the Olmec people. Okay, let's get that straight again. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who is the Olmec, the rubber people, the rubber land, the shy people, Shaite Kotli, the forerunner. The Olmec goes before. Just like the jackal goes before the cosmic Ethiopian king, just like the John the Baptist goes before the Christ. I don't think we have to spend too much time on that. Yeah. So in the same way as the Anpu or Anubis goes before Osiris, the Olmec is said to, according to the theology, go before the Quetzalcoatl, which some have interpret as the bearded white man, who interestingly comes with a shepherd staff and a long robe too. Yes, you can see some of it on the glyphs. But the point is that also he is seen as a god of war. That's the Olmec. That is why he has his helmet on his head. And then at the same time, outside of the rubber connection with Garvey, the Olmec's calendar begins on the 13th of August. Officially 3113 BC. Of course, you know, some say 3114, but I think we would have had that discussion already. We can't stick there at all. But for sure, it's the 13th of August. The very same day, Mosiah Garvey would have risen the red, the black, and the green. Now, of course, we would have covered this also. The animal symbol of the Olmec is the bat. The animal symbol of the Olmec is the bat. And the bat's equivalent in Kemet is Anubis. So Anubis, obviously, clearly, as you can see, is linked with the Olmec for sure through Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And the fact that the animal symbol of the Olmec is the bat. And remember the bat now, as we deal with etymology and we deal with subliminal messages, remember the Olmecs are considered the father of all ball sports. Yeah, they took the rubber and made the ball. And bam, bam, bounce it back and forth from the shoulder and the hips and throw it through the hoop. That's the Olmec people. All right. And the Olmec who invented the ball, their animal symbol is the bat. Bat and ball. Now, of course, in many games, you have a bat and you have a ball. That's how they play with the mind, you know, subliminal, where there's cricket, bat, and ball. And also baseball, you have a bat and a ball, because the inventors of the ball, the Olmec shy people, their animal symbol is a bat. So it is obvious that the great Mosiah Garvey, of course, purchasing the steamship line, the Black Star line, and of course, putting us on the high seas. Again, the FB wrong came in and pure sabotage to basically halt the progress of such a venture. But anyway, we would have spoken about the relationship between Haile Selassie and Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And we did a program on the Tiger's Nest a few evenings ago, which we also streamed to the YouTube, debunking all of these accusations that even ones who say that they're Rastafari like to bring and put on the table. And I really loved how leader El Kebalan revivalist Mandaka would have put it in his presentation that, you know, as a human man, Mosiah Garvey had concerns. And there would have been time that Mosiah Garvey himself wasn't too pleased of certain things, whatever it may be. But this onslaught of lies that many ones try to associate, you know, Marcus Mosiah Garvey with, and even the emperor, because not just a case of Mosiah Garvey dissing the emperor, it's a case of the emperor dissing Mosiah Garvey as well. So I was very pleased to hear that presentation that the brother did. For those of you who missed it, you can go and check the YouTube page, and it is entitled Marcus Mosiah Garvey and Haile Selassie, Who Dis Who? Now, I'm going to read a few excerpts from some of the works of Tony Martin. And this is just to highlight for sure the sort of connection and relationship that Marcus Mosiah Garvey's UNIA would have had with the Ethiopian government in the UNIA's time and rise in Harlem specifically of that age. So we're looking at from the 1920s, going in early 1920s now, 1920, 1990, 1918, you know, 1916, 17, until Marcus Mosiah Garvey would have come off the scene, as they say, in 1940. Very important, and we'll get into all of that. So Brother Tony Martin, esteemed scholar, in Marcus Garvey, Hero, page 139, says here, before becoming emperor, Haile Selassie had long shown an interest in Garveyism. So this is long before becoming emperor. He was showing an interest in Marcus Mosiah Garvey and his philosophy, and in Africans of the West. In 1922, when he was Prince Regent, he sent a message to the UNIA in New York, inviting Africans from the West to come and help build Ethiopia. So you can see there now, that's why it is important for us to read it. That's why it is important for us to study and do our own research. Don't just sit and listen to people talk and say, yeah, man, he said so, so I run it with it. Even if he was reading something to you, go and read it for yourself. But it shows now from 1922, I mean, this is at least 8 years before he was crowned emperor of Ethiopia. This is when he was Prince Regent. Empress Zaditu would have been the empress at the time. Again, and in 1922, when he was Prince Regent, he sent a message to the UNIA in New York, inviting Africans from the West to come and help build the Ethiopian empire. In 1930 now, of course, that will bring us closer to even coronation time. In 1930 itself, the coronation year, several Garveyites heeded that call, led by Barbados-born Arnold Ford. Ford had for years been musical director of the UNIA and had composed the universal Ethiopian anthem in 1919. So this is obviously showing you that there was a direct connection with Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the UNIA, and the Ethiopian government for years. Now, in the book Race First, again, Brother Tony Martin, he says, page 138, The unofficial leader of the UNIA migrants was Rabbi Arnold Ford, a leader of Hebrew Black Jews, who arrived in Ethiopia in 1930. Some of the migrants fared well, working as music teachers, governesses, school principals, and the like. In fact, it is said that Brother Arnold Ford, Rabbi Arnold Ford, would have taught music directly to the emperor's children at the time. So you can see a connection, and he was the unofficial leader, according to Brother Tony Martin, of the migrants that went to Ethiopia. And at the same time, but he is a leader within the UNIA, a standing leader, even at that time. And you could obviously see the connection. So there were many talks that were taking place between Haile Selassie and Marcus Mosiah Garvey, even through other individuals. There was a certain level of appreciation and friendship that the world may not have seen, or the world would have tried to hide from the rest of us who didn't pick up all of that. But for sure, that is what propaganda is all about. But we give thanks for Brother Tony Martin and ones of the sort, which would have definitely brought the true information for us so that we have a better understanding. So this is why now, again, when Italy attacked Ethiopia, which is really the important point here, you know, getting into the war, getting into the moment of exile, getting into that period where the King of Kings would have bore 5 bleeding wounds, symbolically, obviously, but yet still the king bear bleeding wounds for real. Because even during the war, you know, the king gets some serious damage as well, which other ones who would have witnessed this testified to such. So when Italy invaded in 1935, going into 1936, remember, the emperor of Ethiopia and Ethiopia in general really got the sympathy of even a good amount of the Black world in the West, in the world. But by and large in the West, because of the teachings of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Remember, the prophecy of the Elijah that shall come says that this Elijah shall turn the heart of the children unto the fathers, and turn the heart of the fathers unto the children. And this is what Anubis came to do. Anubis came to wake up the sleeping, or Anubis came to rise the dead, I should say. We the people who were dead for 4 days like Lazarus, or we the people who were dead for 400 years in the Amenta, in the underworld. This is why Anubis comes and wraps us up in what? The mantle of the red, black, and green. Same thing Marcus Garvey says. And bring us back to life. No offense to anyone who came before Garvey. Even Mosiah Garvey clearly said, you know, he was inspired by A. Philip Randolph and Booker T. Washington. I think Booker T. Washington specifically. And again, you had A. Philip Randolph, who basically introduced Marcus Garvey to a lot of people when he came to the U.S., you know, because he was doing some works prior to Marcus Garvey in the U.S., obviously, although he turned on him in the very end. At the same time, you have others that we speak of that many consider Marcus Garvey took a page out of their book, and nothing wrong with that. You take a page out of people's book to write your book, it's okay. But the point is that Marcus Mosiah Garvey, unlike any of those who came before or even after, had that ability and utilized that ability to turn the heart of the fathers to the children and the heart of the children to their fathers. Let's check the children to their fathers first. Obviously, Marcus Mosiah Garvey is the one that came and taught us that Africa was for the Africans. Yeah, I know, you know, ones would have said that before. Again, you know, but Marcus Mosiah Garvey is like headline news. You know, you have, it's just like a product that you're selling. You could have the best product in the world, but if no one knows about it, it ain't going nowhere. You understand? Marcus Mosiah Garvey took Pan-Africanism to the world. It's not as if Marcus Mosiah Garvey was the first Pan-Africanist. It would appear so. In fact, many people call him the first Pan-Africanist, you know, but that's because he, as we would say, was the first man. Yeah, Pan-Africanism was there before, as they call it, Pan-Africanism, but Marcus Mosiah Garvey came and put it on the front page, headline news then. The Negro World, you know, most popular Black newspaper going to the United States, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So again, he woke up the Black man. He woke up the Black woman. He was the one that tell them, take the chicken wishbone out of your back and put in the backbone, the jed, you know, the pillar of Asar, and stand upright. He gave them military suits and had them marching in Harlem and riding horses. You know, you never see the movie Django where the woman say, is a woman or a man looking out the window. What's that? A nigger on a horse? Yeah, that's what they were saying there. You know, Marcus Mosiah Garvey have the woman, you know, in hundreds and thousands dressed in their white Black Cross nurses and their fall, and of course military regiment as well. I'm talking about the woman, and then the man, he made brothers admirals and colonels and so many different things, generals and field marshals and he himself, the president, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So he rose the standard. He gave us jobs. He opened supermarkets and factories, making clothes and different things, Mosiah Garvey. So he brought a new awareness to us. In the US and even from Jamaica, he brought a new awareness to us as a people. Even in Africa, we felt the ripple effect of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We all know the story of the children taking the words when the Negro World came on the docks, and whoever would have read it, the children would have run into the interior and carry the words to those who were in the interior of what the newspaper said, the Negro World. So Marcus Garvey, again, was the one that turned the hearts of the children onto the Father. Marcus Garvey wrote repeatedly about Haile Selassie. Marcus Garvey wrote repeatedly about the Ethiopian Empire. In 1920, they sent a letter of invitation to the Ethiopian government to come to the same convention that Mosiah Garvey held from the 1st of August to the 31st of August. Remember, both of these days are full moons this year. That's what they call a blue moon, 1st, 31st of August. So Mosiah Garvey already turned the hearts of the children back to Africa. You know, although they didn't like slavery, although they wanted a better job, but in fact, that's where they were. They just wanted a better job. They just wanted that their children could go to school. It didn't even reach college yet. It was just school, eh? You know, like today, you want your children to go to university. A few years ago, it was you just want your children to get through college, and then a few years ago, it was, you know, just to go through high school. And then prior to that, even in Marcus Mosiah Garvey's time, a lot of these adults were actually saying, I just want my children to go to school. Yeah, Marcus Garvey said, listen, it's more than that. Let's build our own school, but it's still more than school. We need to liberate Africa. That's your homeland. We need to start to do business with the motherland. We need to start to trade with the motherland. They say Liberia is free, because that's why they say Liberia was an independent country, but it was independent for America. Okay, fair enough. Let's do business there. That's why Marcus Garvey was there. That's why he had land there, you know, but that's why the CIA could easily infiltrate him there, because Liberia flies an American flag, really, you know, a bit, you know, if you want to say a bit changed, but same flag, same color, same principle, really. I think it's one star it has. But the point is, we all understand that Mosiah Garvey was the individual who really took us as a people and brought us to the point where we recognized not only Africa, we recognized not only Ethiopia, the Ethiopian empire with a free Ethiopian king, but we recognize specifically that king, Haile Selassie I. Now, Marcus Garvey turned the hearts of the father onto the children. Let's be clear. According to the history, during the time of Garvey, when the Ethiopian empire reached out to the blacks in the West, they always reached out to the UNIA. According to, I'm sure you all listened to the presentation that we brought forward by the brother leader Mandaka a few nights ago. If not, go back and listen to that program. Every time the Ethiopian empire or the regent Rastafari reached out, when he reached out to people from the West to come and help build the Ethiopian empire, he reached to the UNIA. That's Haile Selassie. The UNIA. That's why you saw top leadership of the UNIA come into Ethiopia, teaching the king's children how to play music. Obviously, the king would have interacted with the top leadership of the UNIA. How is Marcus Garvey doing? Well, Your Majesty, our President General, whatever the case is, come on, man. That is why even in the brother's presentation, he was showing that even after such time, the king would have sent for the establishment of the Ethiopian World Federation to build that bond, even with the granting of the land grant of Shashamani, which is for people in the West in general. All of that is connected with the love that Haile Selassie had for Marcus Mosiah Garvey's UNIA. From my observation, to me, from His Majesty's point of view, the UNIA was what was happening for Black people in the West. Not the NAACP, I don't have no record. Maybe he did have a communication with them. I'm not saying he didn't, but it's obvious that the Ethiopian government, anytime it wanted to reach out to the Black in the West, and I believe that the UNIA and its activities would have encouraged it more to reach out to Black in the West, they would reach out to Marcus Garvey's organization. That's a fact. This is facts, I just read it here. We could read more. We did presentations prior to this presentation here so we could prepare ourselves for what we're going into. So it's without a doubt. All of the little stories and Marcus Garvey said this and Haile Selassie didn't meet with this and a heap of things. J. Edgar Hoover is still working. Yeah. And he come Black now and you don't even have to pay him. I'm telling you. That's how sick the thing gets. But it's obvious from proper research, clearly, Marcus Garvey, through his divine work, would have turned the hearts of the children back to their fathers, Ethiopia and the empire. And Marcus Garvey, through his divine work, would have turned the hearts of even the father back to his children. Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. So now that is why when the emperor went on the battlefield, licking airplanes out of the sky, suffering as much mustard gas as anyone around him. Remember, as I was saying on Welcome to the House of Priests, beautiful program Sunday, the emperor, like any other soldier, was living in these caves you see here, living in the tents, and not even living in cave and tents. Nobody have no time to sleep. The emperor is a war machine, man, a pedimech, and I will encourage you as well to get a copy of the documentary, A Pedimech, right there on our website. Go and visit the website. I just showed you how to get there, and the link is in the description below. PriestIsaacInstitute.com. A Pedimech. Beautiful. If you love the Night of the Black Tiger, you're gonna super love. A petty mech. Beautiful. Now, Haile Selassie the First, as you could see behind the anti-aircraft gun, you know, the king, this was no photo shoot business, you know, photo op. You know, I mean, get the cameras and come and we get, you know, no, was the daily living for the king. Somebody just happened to take the picture here, but the king wasn't posing. The king wasn't looking for no camera. The king was working. And this is how it was for the emperor for months. Haile Selassie was not in the palace. From the time the war started, if you read the king's autobiography properly, you can see the king was just doing a few diplomatic moves, making a few connections, and then after, suit up, hit the battlefield with everybody else, and firing shot, living in caves, living in tents, moving from one city to another city, and still being the field marshal general, keeping communications with all the other leaders around Ethiopia, Ras Imru and Ras Nasibu and all of these different ones, keeping in mind that the connection at that time was not even to the standard that even Italy had. You know, so ones were still running across the country, maybe carrying messages on parchment and these different things. And of course the palace, the palace had a radio communication, so they would have sent out the devices to specific ones, but that was very few and far apart. But at least they had some level of what? Modern day technology. So you got to understand even the nature of the battle and what was taking place. And the king was on the battlefield like anyone else that's on the battlefield. It's a beautiful, never noticed this ray of light that's just coming down, shining on the king. See it here like a ray of light, you know, coming through, you know, some crack maybe there in the cave, and it just looks like the ray of light just shining on the king. All right, so licking planes out of the sky. So again, you know, this is why we like to highlight the importance of the 5th of May and what the 5th of May, to the 5th of May really stands for. It is an important period of time in world history, family. We are talking about an invasion that could have changed the world totally as we know it today. As I said, Marcus Mosiah Garvey would have had a rubber plantation in Liberia. Just keep in mind at that time, Liberia was an independent African country. Through the US sent back, I think it was about 20,000 former so-called slaves and started the colony. It's actually called the colony of Liberia. You know? This is another thing, but anyway, it's independent for the US. Although it's a sovereign country, and I don't want to be mocking Liberia at all, as if I'm making a joke about it. It is supposed to be a sovereign country by itself, you know, but to me, it's just a part of the game. Not that even any of these sovereign countries are really sovereign. So it's not as if I'm mocking Liberia. We here in this island of our nation of Antigua and Barbuda, we're independent. And we still swear allegiance to the British monarchy. So they say, I'm not laughing. No, I'm just showing you something. That Liberia was considered by the United States of America an independent African state. And it was given a flag similar to the United States of America and held a few puppet kings. That's why Marcus Mosiah Garvey's land could just be taken away. Simple as that. And given to the Firestone Rubber Company. Simple as that. So again, if the real independent country, which is Ethiopia, lost that war, this world, Liberia couldn't help us. This world would be a totally different place. We just need to comprehend that. That is so important. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to be Rastaman. You don't have to be nothing of the sort. You don't have to even believe in no God. None of them things you have to be to understand what I'm trying to show you here. Even in the king's autobiography, the king gave a speech or made a presentation where he cited a speech, pardon me, that Mussolini gave to the League of Nations. He was not at the League of Nations, but the speech he gave was directed to the League of Nations. And in the speech, Mussolini crying and saying, oh, everybody in the world turned their back on him, and all sorts of things he's saying there. But within the speech, he showed his wicked intentions. You know, he showed his true colors as such, which he always does, it seems like. But after the speech, Haile Selassie said in his autobiography that he leaves the reader to imagine, paraphrasing, he leaves us, the reader, to imagine what would have happened if Mussolini would have taken over Ethiopia. Meaning that Mussolini showed his heart, his evil intentions so much in that speech that the emperor could have said, hey, you heard what he said? I leave you to just contemplate and think what would be the case today if he would have gotten his way. Remember, Hitler had concentration camps, you know, where he was stripping black people, skin, people they take from Namibia and other places, and making boots with them. That's a piece of history they don't want to talk about, but they're going to kill you with what he did to the Jewish people. So if these demons could be making boots with black people's skin, imagine, as the emperor said, what would have happened if these dogs would have gotten their way. And that is what took place in it. This is what brought about so-called World War II. And again, if Ethiopia would have been conquered, it would have been the total end for black people for sure, as you know it. But a lot of us, we missed that. We totally, you know, away from that understanding. So what happened now? When the emperor, of course, spoke before the League of Nations, we understand the science here. I don't want to have to go through all the prophecies again, but I'm sure you comprehend the Lord shall gather all the nations in the valley of decision, where he shall plead unto them for his people, which Mussolini had invaded. And of course, we know the exile came to an end officially on the 10th of June. That's really when his time in England came to an end now. He said it in his autobiography. On the 10th of June, 1940. And of course, he regained the throne on the 5th of May, 1941. From the 5th of May, 1936 to the 5th of May, 1941, Haile Selassie left Ethiopia, 5th of May, 1936, returned and took the throne on the 5th of May, 1941. This is no joke, you know. It's not as if he just come back and jump on the throne, you know. Remember, from the 10th of June, from when? The 10th of June, the king started to pack his bag, he say, right here in the autobiography. On his way out of England, by the 25th, he was going out on a seaboat, a seaplane, pardon me. That's how the king left Ethiopia, you know, on a seaplane. From the 10th of June, from they got the news that Mussolini linked up with Hitler and they started to invade Poland and the Rhineland, 10th of June, that's the date that they have set in stone. when Britain realized that they needed Ethiopia to be on their side to assist them in taking out the aggressor. So when the emperor left England in June and returned to Ethiopia again now, he came in the same way he went out as the general of the war. It's only that is not Britain came to help him, you know. I think we have this thing mixed up. Britain had no intention whatsoever of helping anybody. But Mussolini and Hitler became a threat to Britain and the rest of Europe on the 10th of June, 1940. Man is right here in the autobiography of Haile Selassie I. That's the key date. That's when all hell broke loose, when on the 10th of June, 1940, the king said that he contacted Winston Churchill right away from the news hit on the 10th of June, 1940. So when the king returned to Ethiopia now, remember that's 1940, it's a whole next year before the king sit back on the throne. So it was a next year of battle, you know, serious battle with the heavy artillery of Britain and all the allied forces. When they say Britain, you know, it don't mean British people coming to help the king fight, you know. Yes, a lot of English people were in the armed forces, but remember Britain had colonies. South Africa, Kenya, and Tanzania and Uganda, all in place, belonged to Britain at that time. So even these soldiers, black soldiers that they had in their regiment, all of them came into Ethiopia. This is what I'm showing you. France and Spain and all of them with their colonies and their own people, all of them came in and ran out Mussolini. The emperor himself was the field marshal general of that whole war. And as we said on the Welcome to the House of Priests, the king didn't have to fire a shot the second time around. The first time around, oh, the king was day and night, the king behind the anti-aircraft gun. Day and night, the king have the Gatling. Day and night, brrr, day and night, brrr, day and night, the king have to go visit people that were punished by mustard gas, day and night. Then he went into exile and spoke to the League of Nations. And then he used his strategy, craftiness, and utilized the wisdom that he was blessed with, and came back, as he said, with the might of Britain. Didn't even have to fire a shot. All he had to do is say, yes, Colonel Wingate, go over the hill and down the valley. Yeah, come, get Cunningham on the phone for me. Yes, General Cunningham. Yes, Your Majesty. Yes, I need you to go over to the hill and go down the valley here as well and cut them off on the side. Yes, Your Majesty. Yes, that's what the king was doing. He was directing the war. You see him here, man, with his little telescope and or binoculars or super scope. Yes, the Field Marshal General of the war. This is very, very important. Now, interestingly, you know, all of this time here, it is said that Marcus Mosiah Garvey would have come off of the scene. If you notice, you know, throughout this presentation, we've been actually showing you the relationship again that Haile Selassie would have had with Marcus Garvey and the UNIA and vice versa. Something that is kept even from the narrative amongst us and our Black scholarship. But this is not something that we can deny. Even to the point when Mosiah Garvey was deported to Jamaica, you still see the connection with Haile Selassie and Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Now, what I would have done is to show the direct connection with the ancient Neter, Anpu, or Anubis, with Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Anpu or Anubis is considered to be the god of the dead. That's what they call him, the god of resurrection as well. Asa is also considered the god of the dead and the god of the resurrection. And this is because Anpu, in his rulership, would have moved out of that seat, and Osiris or Asa would have taken up that seat of rulership. And we're talking about in the ancient Kemetic tradition. So by the 4th dynastic period, you have Anpu, yes, the forerunner of Asa, but Asa taking that seat of power as the head Netar. And that is how the cosmology runs. That's just a fact. And I showed you earlier that when you observe the heavens, you will see that Kepheus will come into the realms of the jackal, and the jackal will come out of the way of the celestial North Pole, and the new constellation Kepheus, which represents the Ethiopian king, will take over. This is in the heavens. This is before Anpu and before Anubis, before Khenti Amentiu, before Asa. Those who would have brought Asa and Anpu into realization, they took this from the science that they saw in the heavens. They took this from the astronomical understanding that they had of anciency and even for millions of years to come. They mapped the heavens. They calculated the future. Yeah. So this is seen in Anpu coming before Osiris and Osiris replacing Anpu. This is why Marcus Garvey came before Haile Selassie in that sense and replaced, Haile Selassie would have replaced Marcus Garvey. Family, that is the reality of this. Watch this good. Now we know that the anciency of Haile Selassie is an anciency by itself. Mosiah Garvey's beginnings is a totally different thing in Jamaica and traveling to America and all of that. The emperor is full of royalty and came up in the lineage with a strong possibility that he would be the emperor of Ethiopia one day, and that became the reality, as we all know. Now, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, as a champion for Black people, even from, again, the 19-teens going into 1920, and we must admit that it is through Marcus Garvey's words and works that many ones came to a realization of what was taking place in Ethiopia. That's just the fact. That's why the emperor was very thankful and very pleased. Mosiah Garvey, as well, would have moved the earth to pay attention to his economical power, even purchasing ships and beginning trade, even with the Free State in Africa. And again, all of this was a threat. Of course, the United States of Africa, that was his theme. Kwame Nkrumah, of course, came and heralded that, the United States of Africa. But even the EWF, with the inception of the EWF, Haile Selassie I installed the whole concept of the United States of Africa, obviously similar to that of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. These are important points. So I'm saying now, family, Marcus Garvey says when Garvey dies, Garvey lives. And Garvey is Anpu. He is the Anubis, the God that wrap you up and bring you to life. Wrap me in the red, the black, and green. In the new life I shall rise. And I find that Haile Selassie I would have clearly expressed in the autobiography, My Life and the Ethiopia's Progress, Volume 2,
that his turnaround day was the 10th of June, 1940. Now, historically, that is so. Historically, that is when Britain realized that they had to team up with Haile Selassie I. That is the same day again when Mussolini and Hitler, officially in their alliance now, invaded key countries that the rest of the world didn't expect them to invade. Some say that is when World War II officially began. Or maybe unofficially began. I'm talking of the 10th of June, 1940. Now, according to history, the 10th of June, 1940 is the day that is given for the passing of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. This key day here, now let's dwell in the spirit realms for a moment, because we're dealing with a spirit man here, a man that clearly show you, look for him in some mystic ways. Hear what he said, huh? If death have power, count on him to be the real Marcus Garvey that he want to be. If death have power, count on him to be the real Marcus Garvey he want to be. When Marcus Garvey dies, Marcus Garvey will live. If I die in Atlanta, my work will only just begin. And we can go on and on and on and on. When I die, wrap me in the red, the black, in the green. For in the new life, I shall rise up first. And he said, when he rise up, he coming back with countless of millions of Africans to help you in this liberation struggle. Now, I know as Rastafari, you know, and especially as Boba Shanti, when you talk about Marcus Garvey and Diamonders, which are, again, very superstitious. But these are his words. Now, what is interesting, I would say, is that when they said he died, he was reading the newspaper that said that he died. He was reading some obituary of him. This is Marcus Garvey, you know, reading his obituary. So apparently he didn't die yet. And he was reading his obituary, and they say he died a forgotten man, broken, poor, and all of that. He gave out something like that, and they say he dropped back on the chair and died. Now, I think we should at least consider, before you swallow that story there, you should at least consider that very same story says that he was reading some sort of propaganda report that say he died. That's very interesting. So if a person refuses to believe that story, you can't vex with them when the same story say that he was reading a publication, a tabloid, obituary that said that he dead. And then he died reading that. That's going to take some time to sift out what you say. All right. But anyway, I'm just working with what they say. So that very day, remember Marcus Garvey was in England at that time. You know, they said they buried him 3 times too, and that's another thing. They buried Marcus Garvey 3 times. Yeah. Twice in England, and then they sent him back to Jamaica in the 60s. That's interesting. I always say, so wait, what kind of condition, you know, this body was in the 60s? This wasn't in modern day time when you keep people on them highly standard refrigeration now, you know, or freezers, not refrigeration, freezers. You know, this is a different time. Keeping people on ice is different today than keeping people on ice in that time when you would have already buried this man 2 times already and dig him back up to carry him to Jamaica. I'm mentioning that because I would have heard people speak about, you know, there was a big thing when they brought him back to Jamaica. A lot of people were saying it wasn't him. You know that, right? Yeah, that's just history. I'm not bringing this up as, I'm not trying to be religious here. A lot of people were saying it wasn't him. They have documentaries about that. And on these documentaries, some people say, well, when they open the coffin, they look and they said, okay, it's him. And I'm trying to say, so what kind of, you know, condition? This is in the 40s, going to the 60s, 20 years would have passed, 20 plus years. And again, the technology of keeping a body on ice then is not like now. And even now, to say you have somebody on ice for 20 something years, plus he wasn't on ice, he was buried twice and underground for how long, and then they come and dig him back up. What a weird story. The God of the dead, eh? Khenti Amentiu, Wepwawete, Anpu, eh? Bury him 3 times, eh? Marcus I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari. So, Anpu was the one who brought Osiris to life. Anpu or Anubis was the one that wrapped Osiris in the mantle and brought him to life. Now, this is not the spooky session. We would have already shown without a shadow of a doubt that there was an intimate connection between Haile Selassie and Marcus Garvey. I don't think there's any question the 2 most important Black people, Black man in them times here. A very subliminal tag team, Garvey and the King of Kings. It is our esteemed scholars, including Brother Tony Martin and yes, Brother Leader Mandaka and others, who would have sifted out the truth for us so we can clearly see where Marcus Mosiah Garvey would have seen eye to eye with the King of Kings for what would appear to be decades. Whatever misunderstanding or difference of opinions would have been expressed, you cannot take that and overshadow the great works that the UNIA would have done in cooperation with the Ethiopian government for the freedom and redemption and liberation of the African people. And now in the mystic realms, because this is the mystics as well. Because again, Anpu, the Olmec, Anubis, which is Garvey, would have risen the dead Osiris. Now Haile Selassie did die, but he went into the Amenta. He went into the underworld. Family, you just have to understand the importance of that mission and how serious the situation in Ethiopia was and how it relates to the rest of us as Black people and to the rest of the world in general. Again, I repeat, the emperor said, just imagine what would have happened if Mussolini would have had his way. So that was key for the king to go and address the League of Nations. We know the outcome. We speak of this all the time. And bringing home the victory. The period of exile is the Amenta. The period of exile is the underworld. And the king was in the underworld for about 3.5 years.
within the 5-year period. And as we showed, when he went back to Ethiopia, he didn't go back and say, yeah, thank you, Britain, for going and doing that and sit on the throne. It took almost a next year, you know, man, to drive the Italians out. But it could not have been done without the emperor at the helm. History not going to tell you that. The king ruled back in as Field Marshal General. You didn't have to give him a gun. All the guns were in front and to the side and behind. He was just giving the orders. Crazy. Is who come back with him, so the God of war. Remember, you know, family, listen to me, even you Ethiopian Christians. The Ethiopians have a concept that St. George or Kedos Girugis joins the war. No, you're not going to really see Kedos Girugis or St. George coming in the battlefield on his horse out of the sky with the rainbow around him, but they depict him in battle form coming down to join the war. So the Battle of Adawa, you see Kedos Girugis or St. George joining the war. In the artwork, but you don't see him nowhere joining the war. In the Ethiopian war against Italy, the same thing. Kedos Girugis, the god of war, joins the war. Apedimek joins the war. Marcus Mosiah Garvey represents the Olmec, which is the god of war. When Marcus Garvey dies, Marcus Garvey lives. If death has power, count on me to be the real Marcus Garvey I would like to be. Marcus Garvey is Anpu Anubis, and Anubis brought Osiris to life when he was dead. According to the king in his autobiography, the day he came to life was the 10th of June, 1940. According to history, that's the same day that Marcus Garvey died. The same day that Haile Selassie recognizes in his autobiography as the day when everything turned around. And it's not the emperor in his autobiography, it's history. It is history we're talking about. The 10th of June, 1940 is no play day. That's when, again, pardon the phrase, all hell broke loose. Mussolini and Italy team up with Hitler and Germany officially. Poland, Czechoslovakia, the Rhineland, everybody going down. England, Churchill saying, no, man, we have to do something. We need the Emperor of Ethiopia to assist us in this campaign, starting with Ethiopia to drive out and to crush Mussolini. When? The 10th of June, 1940. And this is the same day when history reports that Marcus Garvey would have passed. Now, when I die, wrap me in the red, the black, and green. Because in the new life I shall rise. Because remember, Khenti Amentiu is seen as the same Asa. Anpu is seen different than Asa, but Anpu is seen as Khenti Amentiu, and Khenti Amentiu is seen as Asa. It's deep. Marcus Garvey rise with the king Farai. That's my point. It's obvious. If you believe in Garvey, especially the spirit of Garvey, Garvey rise. See like you there talking about, oh, Marcus Garvey called a coward. You can talk forever. Sesame Street. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, whatever he did with himself, because he definitely came off the scene on the 10th of June, 1940. And I'm not in no spooky business. When I die, wrap me in the mantle of the red, black, and green, because I rise in with Haile Selassie. I rise in with the Ethiopian warriors. I already tell you, I coming back with countless of thousands and millions of Africans who would have died. I rise in with the earthquake. Remember, bees and bulls were in the war. Anpu wrapped Osiris and brought him to life. And I'm speaking in the spiritual realms because the resurrection of Osiris is when Haile Selassie I came out of England, came out of the Amenta, and returned back to Ethiopia to finish off the war. That was the resurrection. The crucifixion was when he went into the underworld, went into the Amenta, had to go to the League of Clowns and speak to them with wrath, and then spend moments of anguish in exile for our sins. And then he finally was resurrected. And again, I'm going to call the date, the 10th of June, 1940. And that is the day history says Marcus Garvey would have died. Now, if all I would have said before wasn't said, then anybody could have said, man, Ras, that's just a coincidence. Marcus Garvey just happened for dead on the day the king, you know what I mean, left England, which wasn't the day he left England, but that was the day the change began. King, change began or whatever, my lord. That's just a little coincidence. Yeah, it does take things too far. I would agree with that if I couldn't clearly link Anpu with Marcus Garvey. I would agree with that if I couldn't link Haile Selassie with Osiris. I would agree with that if I didn't understand what it meant when the ancient glyph says that Osiris took over from Anubis after he was resurrected. I would agree with that, but I do not agree with that because I understand what the mystics have said. Now, there is more. Please don't go anywhere. We have to go into the heavens now because there's something taking place in the heavens as I am speaking to you right now as it relates to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. But before we go there, I want to share this word with you and take a drop of my chalice. Please do not go anywhere.
Prosperity is a herbal remedy that has been naturally designed to nourish the prostate gland. Prosperity uses a combination of leaves, roots, and barks to create a tincture designed to nourish your prostate gland. It also will assist in prostate-related issues such as erectile dysfunction, swollen prostates, and problems related to the passage of urine. Call or WhatsApp 728-8289, 728-8289 and get your bottle today. Prosperity.
And of course, for the international audience, it is much better for you to visit the website or email us, priestIsaacInstitute@gmail.com. Of course, the link is in the description below the video. The link is in the description below the video, priestIsaacInstitute@gmail.com, and get your prosperity. Trust me, the prosperity works. I'm saying it myself. Definitely fortifies the prostate and strengthens the erection of the man, and even nourishes the prostate glands and cleanses the urinary tract. Positive vibration. Give thanks.
Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of ARCHAEOASTRONOMY from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its maker has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as Ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com for more information.
And remember that, the Olmec is really considered, the god of war. So when we see that whole concept of the war energy coming in, the Olmec for sure represents the god of war. So that is why even the Idi Amin data perspective is very high. And I would not even go into that. I know we would have been here for a moment now. But again, I'm going to encourage everyone to get a copy of The Night of the Black Tiger. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, priestisaacinstitute.com. The link is in the description below the video. And the Night of the Black Tiger, it is only $20. And believe me, this is a documentary that you would definitely full joy, you and your family. And it's definitely not heavy on the ears, It is a documentary designed, to be honest, to entertain you and keep you up. So the little children will love it, some nice vibes and sound effects and all of that. But the knowledge is square to the point. And then, of course, for sure, a pedimec. I would encourage all ones. This is our most recent full-length documentary, Pedimec, The Conquering Lion Hath Prevailed. So yes, the great Idi Amin Dada, in all symbolism, and Olmec himself as well. You could see that no one can deny. And the Olmec is the god of war. Even Idi Amin would have showed us that it was the same 1st of August where he got the dream that he should go and take over the economic situation in Uganda and drive out all the people that was sucking the economy of Uganda. General Amin, give thanks to the Olmec in flesh, give thanks, they say that Idi Amin, he himself says he knows exactly when he is going to die. You never hear him say that. I know exactly when I'm going to die. I know this. This is why I'm not coward, because I know exactly when, where, and how I'm going to die. I know this. It's a secret. You understand? And interestingly, they say that he passed on the 16th of August, 2003. The 16th of August, 2003. So that would have been 20 years ago. And he would have been buried on a day like today, the 17th of August, 2023. The 17th, exactly 20 years after. This now is 20 years after all of that would have taken place. 20 years, And I clearly remember when that news came out. when they said Idi Amin Dada would have passed. Interesting, you know. So the point is, he was buried on the birthday of Marcus Garvey. And you may say, well, Ras, that's a next coincidence. And again, yes, it would be if we didn't have so many other things to link Idi Amin with Marcus Garvey, Khenti Amentiu, and the very same Anubis. Deep, deep, deep vibe. But anyway, family, give thanks for the great granddaddy, the general himself, Idi Amin Dada. But I want to, again, encourage you to get the Night of the Black Tiger so you could investigate those, the vibration as it relates to Idi Amin Dada and Marcus Garvey a bit more. But in the interest of time, I want to show you quickly what is taking place in the heavens even as we speak. Also, you obviously saw that we were highlighting the Ancient Astronomy Course. I am going to encourage each and everyone to be a part of the Ancient Astronomy Course. And of course, you know, this would assist you in having a better understanding or comprehension of what the heavens is saying when we are telling you it declares the glory of the Most High. All right. Now we are looking here at the northern heavens. That's why you could see here the star Polaris. And the star Polaris there in the northern heavens doesn't really move. It just stays there, or it appears to stay like that. So for example, all night, you see, it just looks like it's just slightly spinning around while all the other constellations go around in a different light. Now, this time frame, you have Polaris, and this is the constellation known as Kepheus. Now, I'm just going to put up the artist rendition, Kepheus. And Kepheus really has a turban-looking kind of thing, but what they drew here doesn't represent Kepheus. And the jackal, you see the little dipper is seen as a jackal. So Kepheus will be replacing the jackal, or Kepheus will be replacing the little dipper in short order, maybe a couple 100 years. So for example, let's just look at this quickly. Let me just give it 1,000 years. You have, look at it good, Polaris here in the center, and that's Kepheus here coming over. So let's just say in 1,000 years, you notice that Polaris is moving away from the center and Kepheus is getting closer. So you might still have to give that, let me just give it 700 more years. So in the next 1,700 years, you can see Polaris is definitely no longer the pole star. And you can see the tip star here will be the pole star coming into this time. Now you may say, but that's a long way from now. Anything in the astronomical world is a long way from now on that level, you understand? But the process, it's the process we're talking about. The process would have already begun, where Polaris is coming out now of the center of the northern celestial pole, moving on. So I'm saying that Polaris is a part of this constellation, which many ones would have considered in ancient time as being the jackal. Definitely some level of a canine. You know, remember Wewet is considered a wolf and still considered a jackal. Good. Some people say Khenti Amentiu is a dog and still a jackal. Remember, the right term for Anpu is a sab, which is a jackal. I wonder if you follow me good. So the sab is the little dipper or the jackal, and the little dipper, which is the Anpu or the Anubis, will be moving out of the power point, making way for Kepheus. So that is what was seen when Anpu moved out of the throne way and made way for Osiris. That is why even again, Haile Selassie I, even at the resurrection, the same time they say Marcus Mosiah Garvey would have passed on, because he represents Anubis, who brings the dead to life. You know, this is such a deep, deep vibration here. So you're seeing it in the heavens. You see it on the hieroglyphs.
and you see it in living history. If you are able to read it and understand it, I'm going to repeat this. You cannot tell me that this is mere coincidence that they say Garvey make a move on the 10th of June, 1940. And that's the same time all hell broke loose in the world, to the point that the emperor could write Churchill right away and say, yeah, you ready? Not exactly in those terms, but that's really what was happening. So now he represents, again, the God of war. Not just no God of no dead, but the God of war. He gone to war, just like Kedos Giroges St. John. She gone to war with the emperor. I'm telling you. But anyway, give thanks. This is so beautiful. Now, let me show you what I brought you here to show you. That's not really what I brought you here to show you. I'm just showing you that because we were mentioning that earlier. Now, at this moment here, the 17th of August, how many of us can remember? And I know we have some new people here tonight. And with all the viewers we have, we are in the hundreds, family. At least the last time I looked. So maybe we're in the thousands now, but we're definitely in the hundreds of people watching this live. And let me say, I'm very thankful for all of those who came in tonight to observe this presentation. Give thanks for the overwhelming support on this one. So I'm just asking for some more support as we press the like buttons, you know, press the thumbs up, those who are here. And of course, what you could do, you could share the link, share the video, let a friend see what you are watching. Let them know, man, we're having a beautiful time here with the Honorable Priest Isaac. Very good. Now, as I said, we just want to observe a specific energy going through the heavens as we speak. Now, can you remember? Oh yes, you see the jackal here. Some people say that this constellation, which is obviously a canine, represents Isis. Some people say the star represents Isis, but the constellation obviously is a jackal, a canine with the Orion, a dog with Orion. But I don't think it's just a mere dog. It must be a jackal. It must be Khenti Amentiu. I honestly think that this is Khenti Amentiu with Asar. Very good. I'm sure I'm correct, really. Now, what I want to highlight is, of course, remember, during the time of the Earth Day of Haile Selassie I, we were showing the movements of Mars and Venus. Very good. Now I want to bring us back to that once more, and also to bring in the whole mystic with Mercury. Now this is very important. If you could recall, even on Rasta Round Table, I was showing you what Venus and Mars have been doing for the past months, how they have been going through, Gemini, how they connected themselves even with the movements over the Beehive cluster, which I found very, very important. And then even at this time, how they are connected to the Leo constellation. So anyway, now remember in July, we were observing how Mars came and went over Regulus. Now let me give you the signs here first of all, so you can see. This is the lion, and you can see Venus here, and you see Mars here. Now, on the 23rd day of July, Venus came to a point, this is it, where Venus would have basically stayed on the line, the 10th hour, this is the 10th hour, what would be the longitude on the earthly fashion. And then Venus went into retrograde and spun around. Now it's obvious, you can see it right there. This is the 23rd day of July. So coming towards the 23rd day of July again, Mars and Venus, both planets of war, by the way. Now, if you notice at this point, Venus and Mars are quite a distance from each other,
just coming out of Gemini together. But then coming into June and into July, both Venus and Mars, they began to get closer to each other. They both went over the Beehive cluster, which was a very significant astronomical event. And then as they came into July, Venus came very close to Mars. Very, very, very close. Both very symbolic planets as well. As I said, both of them are planets of war. Mars also represents Marcus Garvey too. Now, what happened is that when they got very close, when they came to the Lion's Gate, you hear a lot of people talking about Lion's Gate. When they came right before the lion, they were already in the energy of the lion, obviously, but Mars plunged into the lion while Venus literally turned around. She touched the 10th hour parallel on the 15th of July. Mars would have already passed over Regulus a few days before that. As you see, Mars basically kissing Regulus on the 11th of July. And on the 15th of July, Venus would have touched the 10th hour parallel. But observe this, Venus does not go beyond the 10th hour parallel. And for the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, Venus is on the 10th hour parallel. 20th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 23rd, Venus comes off. 24th, 25th, you see, Venus spins around. So what Venus would have done, this is very important. This is the heavens declaring the glory. These are the planets now, you know, because the planets specifically are very important when it comes to ancient astronomy. You know, just looking at the fixed stars is one thing. But when you understand the movement of the rhythm of the planets, that's another thing. Because this is not astrology, you know. This is ancient astronomy. So again, Venus coming very close to Mars, yet still leaving Mars on the 23rd, spinning around, and Mars goes deep into the lion. Now, see, the 23rd. Now, when you observe Mercury now, the swift one, comes into the lion, of course, in July, on its way to Mars. Now, watch Mercury good. Mercury, as it comes close to Mars, remember, Mercury is considered a very swift planet, and Venus is already going, it's on its way back to the sun. Mercury itself, watch the date, the 12th of August, the 13th of August, the 14th, the 15th. Mercury does not touch Mars. Mercury turns around on the 16th, the 17th, 18th of August. Look at there. So on the 17th of August, Mercury turns back from following Mars, from in the Leo constellation, and returns to the sun. By that time, which is now, the sun is in the Leo constellation. This is very important. So when Mars, which does represent Marcus Garvey, M-A-R, put a C-U and a S, Mars become Marcus. And Mars is the god of war, and there's a face on Mars. Check the Night of the Black Tiger. But the point is, on the king's birthday, Mars enters the lion and Venus turns around. And then Mercury catches up with Mars, and as Mars comes out of the lion, Mercury turns around, very close to Mars as well. And of course, that happens on the 17th of August. The first one happens on the 23rd of July, when Venus stops accompanying Mars. And then on the 17th of August, Mercury stops accompanying Mars. And all of this is happening in the heavens. And it happens when Mars enters the lion, and the part when Mercury on Marcus Garvey's birthday today stops accompanying Mars is when Mars is coming out of the lion. Even as I am speaking to you right now, the heavens is declaring that glory. And what happens when they go into retrograde, when a planet does that now, Mercury is now going back into the sun. Venus went back into the sun and disappears into the sun when they go into retrograde. And that is happening in the heavens as we speak right now. Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Yes, family, give thanks for the moment. Give thanks for your patience. Give thanks for your patient listening and rapt attention, and give thanks, obviously, for your comprehension. I really do appreciate love those who would have taken the time to sit in and open your mental to the words that we had to bring forward. Man, we give thanks for Marcus Mosiah Garvey's Earth Day. We give thanks for 136th celebration. We give thanks for Nyabingi going throughout the earth. We give thanks continually for the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Glorify Melchizedek, the High Priest, the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. Thanks, family. I will invite you again to visit our website, visit Radio Anu. The link is in the description below. And of course, get a copy of The Night of the Black Tiger. At least treat yourself for Marcus Garvey's Earth Day. Give thanks, life giver and the keeper of life. Marcus I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari. Give thanks.
Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of ARCHAEOASTRONOMY from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its maker has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as Ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, for more information.